problem of incontinence? Where does it come from? Why does this annoying condition show up for us? And most often, pay attention, after childbirth. Girls, it's actually very simple. During pregnancy, we grow, right? From the inside out over 9 months, all our tissues stretch, our diaphragm lowers, a baby forms here, and all the deep abdominal muscles, the muscles, ligaments, basically all the structures of the abdomen, they all stretch out a bit. And after giving birth, we need to return everything back to its original position. Otherwise, things start to sag a bit, and all the organs gently begin to, shift downward, right? It's like a little landslide starts to happen, I'm showing you all of this visually on purpose. Everything gradually starts to drop down, and that's when the infamous intra-abdominal pressure increases, right? So all of this starts to drop down, and gradually, where does all this pressure go? Well, of course, onto the pelvic floor. And if our pelvic floor isn't in great shape after childbirth, which, let's be honest, is usually the case, because no one ever taught us how to restore our pelvic floor muscles after giving birth, right? Really, for us women, this should be one of our main priorities, to know how to restore the deep muscles of the abdomen and the pelvic floor, because these are the muscles that suffer the most during pregnancy and childbirth. Yes, and if we don't restore them, we'll just stay hollow inside. That's why our goal is to tone the abdominal muscles, lift the diaphragm, and strengthen the pelvic floor muscles. And right behind these muscles are our pelvic organs, and in particular, what we're interested in, the bladder. And here we have the bladder sphincters, which again are located within the muscles of our pelvic floor. But if we only strengthen these muscles without addressing anything above, it won't be as effective. And the problem might come back, right? Because as I said before, this downward shift actually starts from above. That's why our goal, and it's no coincidence that for the first 2 weeks we focused on training the deep abdominal muscles, was to lift everything up using vacuum techniques, strengthening the transverse abdominal muscle, basically creating a natural built-in support. Only after that do we work on strengthening the pelvic floor muscles, which in turn reinforces the sphincters, including those of the bladder, and helps reduce both intra-abdominal and intravesical pressure. Because when, the pressure inside the abdomen increases, all of that also presses on the bladder, right? Look, everything is pressing down from above, but the pelvic floor muscles are weak and the sphincters are weak too. That's why every time you sneeze or cough, you experience leakage. Let me show you visually. All of this, of course, affects our pelvic floor. There's even a saying, cough yourself into incontinence. This can happen when you laugh, when you cough, when you sneeze, or when you lift something heavy. Our goal is to counter this with strong pelvic floor muscles and strong supporting structures in the abdomen. And in general, to learn the skill of so-called internal muscle strings. When, before we sneeze, cough, or pick up a child, we put on so-called muscle strings. We engage our pelvic floor muscles and lower belly. So just imagine, yes, you picture yourself wearing thong underwear. You do the same thing with your muscles, right? You engage them, then lift something, engage them again, then sneeze, and so on. So this should become a habit, and that's exactly what we're going to work on together now.